I know probably the only thing worse than having the guy who talks all the time in class raise his hand yet again is to have him appear via YouTube on a gigantic screen in front of the entire class. I'm sorry I couldn't make it to today's Teach Back. My group has asked me to introduce the case associated with today's Teach Back. It's about a woman named Dana who is asked to come in to sort of reshape a kitchen appliances company. And Dana's got some work ahead of her because this is a well-established company, and she thinks there's a couple things that need to be changed in order to make the company successful. There's a lot of people here at the company who don't want to see those things happen. And if you don't totally identify with Dana right now, think about what someone like a president or a governor or some other person who has to sell wholesale change to a large group of people has to go through in order to make that happen. Essentially what the case lays out are 5 tasks that a person has to engage in, or even a group has to engage in order to make persuasion happen and make it happen effectively. The first task is called mapping the influence landscape, and essentially this is you stepping back and taking a look at what's happening, what kind of situation you're walking into, and sort of assessing what the people's interests are, what the alternatives are, who are the persuadable people. The second task is shaping the perceptions and interests. So people have some sort of preconceived notion about the company or the agenda, and it's up to you to really shape how those are going to be perceived by the group. Task 3 is shaping the perceptions of alternatives. So you've got a new idea about how things are supposed to work. Well, how do you make people understand it your way? Task 4 is gaining acceptance for tough decisions. So if the status quo has been what people have accepted for a long time, how are you going to make them decide to do the tough thing and do a new route? Task 5 is persuading at a distance. It's not going to be your job to influence every person and to persuade every person, but this case really talks about how to persuade specific important people who can do your persuading for you in the long run. How do you get to those people that really create opinion? The case goes into these 5 tasks in great detail. It's really important to read because you never know when you're going to be in a situation like Dana's. The handout we have today has these 5 tasks listed, as well as the subtasks that the case tells us are really important for each one. So take a look at those and keep them in mind today when you're doing the activities. So that's the case. It's Dana, it's kitchen appliances, it's 5 tasks for long-term persuasion, and the subtasks that go into that. Today's activities, however, are going to be a little bit more geared toward persuasion in the moment. During last week's Teach Back on the Storm King, there was a subtle lesson about persuasion. It didn't have to do with the Storm King fire, but a fire many years ago in 1949 in Montana. And there's a folk song that's been written about that event, and I come from a long line of bedroom musicians, and my cousin loves to play this song, and I got a hold of him this weekend, and he taught me how to play it, and so I've practiced it, and now I'm going to perform it for you. And hopefully you can pick out the lesson about persuasion in the short term. Very momentary. I think in some ways these large ideas about how to go about these 5 tasks of long-term persuasion really mean nothing if you can't do it in the moment. And so if you'll indulge me, this is a song called The Cold Missouri Waters. My name is Dodge, then you know that. It's written in the record at the foot end of the bed. They think I'm blind, that I can't read it. But I've read every word, and every word it says is death. So confession, is that the reason why you came to get it off my chest? Before I check out of the game, well, since you mentioned it, there's 13 things I'll name, 13 crosses high above the cold Missouri water. August 49, North Montana. It was the hottest day on record, and the forest tinder dry. Lightning strikes in the mountains. I was crew chief at the jump base. I prepared the boys to fly. I picked the drop zone The C-47 comes in low. Feel the tap on your leg, the one that tells you to go. See the circle of the fire down below. 15 of us drop below the cold Missouri waters. I gauged the fire, I'd seen bigger, so I ordered them to Side Hill. We'd fight it from below. We'd have our backs to the river, and we'd have it licked by morning, even if we took it slow. But the Fire Crown, it jumped the valley just ahead. There was no way down, and so we headed for the ridge instead. Too big to fight it, we'd have to fight for the slope instead. Flames one step behind us, above the cold Missouri waters. The sky had turned red, and the smoke was boiling. There was 200 yards to safety, but death was 50 yards behind. I don't know why, I just thought it. I struck a match to waist-high grass, running out of time. Tried to tell him, step into this fire. I've said, we can't make it, this is the only chance you will get. But they cursed me, and they ran for the rocks instead. And I lay down and prayed above the cold Missouri water. And when I rose like the phoenix, in that world reduced to ashes, there were none but two survived. I stayed the night. One day after, I carried bodies to the river, wondering how I stayed alive. 13 stations of the cross to mark their fall. I've had my say, and I'll confess to nothing more. I'll join them now, because they left me long before. 13 crosses high above the cold Missouri waters. 13 crosses now, the cold Missouri shore.